So we continue in the sugya of Refuah on Shabbos that we started yesterday. It's such a gavaldige sugya because it encompasses so many different shaylas of the Lamatas Malachas as well. Even though Refuah, as we said yesterday, is a Rabbanon, but Akaponim, there are so many different shaylas that come out within the sugya of Refuah, as we mentioned already. One of them yesterday, the Gabi Mamachik, Mameach, which is the sugya of creams and all these sorts of things. But it encompasses so many different things. And Refuah also has so many different applications that are Nageya. We're in the sugya of a Mechash. As we said yesterday, there are different categories. There's what we call, let's go to the main ones again. There's a Mechash Ba'alma, which we'll explain today. There is a Choyle She'ein Bo Sakana, mixed as Choyle we put in the middle. But there's a Choyle She'ein Bo Sakana, which is a choyle, which means he is sick, but in absolutely no danger whatsoever, but he is sick, and we have to describe what that means and what the definition of that is. His halacha is generally all medication is mutter. Choyle sheyesh bo sakana basically is pekuach nefesh, you can machal Shabbos. Again, we'll have to explain what that means and if a person has to look to do a shinoi or not. And then we've got sakanas eva, which means a person is in sakana of losing a limb. And the shayla is what exactly goes into the idea of a limb. For example, a tooth. Is a tooth considered to be a limb? Lots of different shaylas. We have to talk about lots of different things. We're in the sugya of Mechash. That's what we started a tiny bit yesterday, but let's explain it. Very, very important. Let's go through the categories, understand what their halacha is. We're probably going to spend more time on Mechash than anything else because it's probably more practical and more negay to most people. The idea of a Mechash is that somebody is a little bit ill. Meaning, he's got a little bit of a schwachkeit, he's got a little bit of a cold, his nose is running, his throat hurts him. You know, the kind of excuses that a person like, Seder Kenish, I can't come to Seder. What can I do? My throat's hurting me. The Maisa, if my second cousin once removes neighbor's brother-in-law's nephew's cat, invited me to go to Rodriguez, Mistama would have the strength for that. Mistama. But, whatever it is, a person's a little bit schwach. Person has a little bit of a headache, all these sorts of things, right? That is a mechash. The din of a mechash is that all medication is asa. All medication is asa. There is no heta in a regular situation, even though today we're going to go through many, many heterim. But the basic idea is, a mechash is asa to have medication. In a simple idea, Tuli, when you have a headache, and you take a pill, that's a problem. Why is it a problem? We said yesterday. Because of its gzeira d'Rabbanon, mishum toichein. Right? The way of making medication, adayoim hazeh, they still do Yaakov Tzvi. And Nes, very important to listen, that they do medication by crushing. Very good, Nochi, thank you. They do it by crushing. Baruch Hashem, he's starting Daf Yomi today, Rabbi Isai. Starting Nazir. Nachi, beautiful. Keep on going. Beautiful. Anyone else can join us as well, Rabbi Simon. Mesechtas Nazir is starting today. Daf Yomi. Gavaldik. Continuing? Gavaldik. Yosef finished Nadarim. Okay. Baruch Hashem. Where is he? Refuah finishing to Nadarim today. Gavaldik. Okay, everybody, so enough publicity, let's move on. Okay, talking about the sugya of Mechash. So again, all medication is asa. That means all medication, and that's not only pills, that's also creams and everything else in that thing. Let's move on. So let's discuss. Rabbi said, let's go through some of the common shaylas. Let's go through some of the heterim that we can possibly be mekel and we can possibly take medication. Be very careful. We're talking about a mechash over here. We're not talking about a choyle she'ein bo sakana. A choyle she'ein bo sakana, medication is mutter. We'll discuss that when we get that. Those of you that are familiar with Siman Shin Chof Ches, if you look at Sif Yud Zayin, if you look at the third sheet of the Ramah, it's the sheet of the Ramban, and that's why choyle she'ein bo sakana is allowed to have medication. That we'll talk about. Right now we're holding by mechash. A meichush is someone that's a little bit sick. Medication is asa. So let's go through some of the exceptions. Exception number 1. If you take the medication before Shabbos, avada, there's no shaila whatsoever. Even though we know, whether or not you're allowed to do halachas on Erev Shabbos that will lead into Shabbos, that's a machlokes b'shama b'sevel, shaila legabi shehiyah and hatmana. Anyone that have learned, and we have a chabura Baruch Hashem in yeshiva, the gavaldiga chabura, Rabbi Eli and Rabasha, who are learning gavaldiga Shem and Reish and Gimel beautifully. The sugya, the Shia Chazara. If anybody wants a shout out, please let me know. We'll do that on Sunday. Okay, so where is I? So if you take the medication, you have one every day. If you take the medication every single day, if you take the medication before Shabbos, there's no problem that a person gets healed on Shabbos. That we're not worried about. For example, just to make this even better, let's say right before Shkia, right, because we know that we're not Makabel Shabbos by Shkia. There's a halacha midoraisa, posik in the Torah, we darshan, the Gemara talks about it by Shmit or whatever, which is the sugya to Sefer Shabbos. We spoke about it last week. I think it was last week or this week, whatever we're holding, I don't know where we're holding. That the Indian of being Makabel Shabbos early. We're not waiting until the moment before Shkia to Makabel Shabbos. So we're a few minutes before to Sefer Shabbos is a doraisa. So right before you Makabel Shabbos, you take some cream and you smear it on your hand. Because you have a rash, something that you need to sort out. Not stam, a little bit of a roughness, but you have something that needs to be healed. So you do that right before Shabbos, and as Shabbos comes in, you're now Makabel Shabbos, you have the cream over there. It's working and it's working and it's working. There's no problem with that. There's no problem in doing the refuah before Shabbos and allowing it to work on Shabbos. Now, I'm going to give the oilam of gavaldiga heta, but I want to make sure this is very, very clear. People often come over with shaylas in the following way. I get a headache. This is a common one. I get a headache every single Shabbos afternoon. After Azar Shluft, after Azar Chulent, Chenisht. Azar headache, it's gefährlich. Now, we're not talking about a migraine. We're not talking about a terrible headache that he has to go to bed for. But it really hurts him. It bothers him. He wants to know what to do. Happens to come on every week. What do? I know in advance it's going to happen, Dovi. What should I do, lemaisa, with my headache? It's a meichush ba'alma. I'm not allowed to take medication. Mailach, what do I do? So we have, that's one thing, we're going Erevin, very good. Yasik b'Torah, beautiful, Chaim, Shkoyach. But I want to tell you a Gemara, and this Gemara is going to be a gavaldiga heta for many, many ideas about how to take medication on Shabbos Kodesh. By the way, just an important disclaimer, I just remembered now, that the Shulchan Aruch talks about in the Shulchan Aruch Ches, if you design the Gabi children. Children, by the way, have a very different din of legabe choile illnesses than adults, right? Now, you're going to ask me what's the din and what's the getter of a child. We'll have to talk about it. But the general idea is that a child gets much more pain and discomfort from the smaller things that an adult can cope with, right? Much more you get that as a child. Therefore, Chazal are much more makel by a child to do medication than to give the medication. In other words, what we're saying right now, clear, is for adults. Children are much more makel. Most children at most ages have a little bit of a discomfort. That's already got a din of a choyle she'ein bo sakana, and we can give them more medication. We are now discussing adults. Adults have a headache, adults have a sore throat, feel a bit schwach, whatever, have a cold. That's a meichush, no medication. Children can take medication. What's the definition of a child? We'll talk about it. But I just wanted to say that to be very important to be clear that people shouldn't think that for their own children that they can't give medication, because you generally can. Now, there's a Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Ches Samad Beis, and the Gemara talks about the kilurin. The kilurin is a type of paste. It's the way the Rishonim learn it. It's a type of eye paste that they used to put over their eye. Now the Gemara talks about different mahalchim, how to use it. One of the ways they used to apply it on Shabbos Kodesh was to mix it into something else before Shabbos and apply it in an interesting way. Say the poskim as follows. We're skipping the steps of the Rishonim, the Achronim, and how we get everywhere because we have to get to Halacha Lamaisa. Say the Gedolei poskim. We have from here a Gavaldiga heta of Refuah. Because in the Shaila in the Gemara was talking about something like an eye paste which they used to crush down. It's the same idea as a refuah. It was a type of healing, it was a type of situation that would have caused crushing. But since you mixed it into something before Shabbos, and you applied it in an interesting way on Shabbos, we weren't worried that a person would go along on Shabbos and crush more. Which means there's no gzeira, and therefore that's why it's mutter. So what does that mean to us? Halacha Lamaisa. What happens Halacha Lamaisa Elishia? When a person gets a headache on Shabbos afternoon, what does he do? So, simple eitzah. before Shabbos Kodesh, take a Tylenol, take an Advil, take whatever it is that's going to help your headache, and crush it properly, and then mix it into a yogurt, mix it into a piece of cake, into some peanut butter, chocolate spread, whatever you want. On Shabbos afternoon, have a rice cake with some chocolate spread on it. And maybe you get healed. I spoke to a doctor, and I asked him, if it's crushed, is it going to be less effective? He told me no. There's no reason why it would be less effective.
You have to crush it.
So you have to, number one, do you have to crush it? Okay, good question. The first idea is you crush it before Shabbos, so it's no longer recognizable. You mix it into something else, and you take it with a shinoi on Shabbos, because taking it with chocolate spread is a shinoi. It's not the normal way you take medication, right? Shimon asks, you have to crush it. The answer is, if it's not recognizable, no. That means if you take the pill and you stick it into a piece of cake, in the way that you're just eating a piece of cake on Shabbos, that's fine. But if you're going to take it out on Shabbos, the pill, and I'm saying obviously it's got to be done properly, right? Fraim, are you with me? This is important because I don't want to have any non-clarity in this sugya, because people are going to come out saying, yeah, he said this is mutter and that's mutter. It's got to be clear. Yes?
On Shabbos you have to put it into the cake?
No. Again, before Shabbos, you either crush it or put it in a way that no one's going to see it. On Shabbos, you eat the food or drink the food normally. Right? But I say this is a gavaldige heta, right? That kamat, all of the poskim or maskem, again, it's a Refuah Gemara basically, and not many people know this heta, so you just have in your hands a gavaldige heta that can help in many, many different situations.